Hello, Amy.
Hello, Cameron. How's it going?
So good. How are you?
Well, I could use some help.
You got
We got
18 offers this weekend
we
on
got
your list.
two more offers. Yes.
Yes, I love that you got some.
Yeah. My client is a tough negotiator, and it's really like hard a little bit, right? To like I'm I'm a little I'm representing him, so I have to call the agent and say things that he wants me to say that I'm like, that's kind of an interesting, it's a new experience.
Yes.
Okay. So he wants to counteroffer both, he wants to counteroffer both offers.
Okay.
Um, he typed up what he wants in the counteroffer. I would love either yours and Jeanette's or Dean's help with part of this because I could read it to you or I could email it to you, but let me just read it so you can kind of understand. And I'm like wanting to make sure this is right. So he says, if the appraisal value of this property is assessed below 1.009 million, which is the offer price, the seller has the option to decide not to sell this property and cancel the Rep C with the buyer. The terms of section 16 of the Rep C shall not apply to the seller. So, I mean, it's getting pretty legal and technical that I want to make sure we're doing it right. And I'm not quite sure why he wants the option not to sell. And I've asked him, he says, he says, maybe you would understand this better than me. And it goes on about the earnest money. So this option, offer one, is 20K earnest money and 5% is non-refundable, is what they're offering to
Hmm.
show us they don't want to back out like our first buyers did.
Pretty good.
What's the offer price? Just out of curiosity.
The offer price is 1.009, 500.
So, in my opinion, I don't think you need that because if it appraised below that amount and they came to you and said, lower the price, he could say no. So, I don't think that you need that verbiage because he could choose not to at that point.
Right.
Am I right, Cameron?
Yeah, that's kind of what I was thinking as well. And if it does appraise below that and they're not willing, they might be willing to pay the difference in cash. And
Right. And
so we would still get there.
they're not required to disclose the appraisal. So if it came in low and they chose to pay the difference in cash, they don't have to disclose that to him.
Yeah, they could just say, we're good with the appraisal. We're going to go to closing.
Yeah. I don't understand why he would want to not sell it if it appraised for lower. I don't understand that.
Is it that that's his minimum and he wants them to know it? Like he's not going below that no matter what happens.
I feel like the interesting thing is that they're listed lower than that.
Right.
Yeah, because you could just tell him like, yeah, we can put that in, but at the same time we don't need to because if they do anything that asks us to lower the price, we can say no. And by saying no, that puts it back on the buyer. Do they want to make up that difference, whatever it might be, or do they want to cancel? And if they cancel before any deadlines, then we're out, earnest money goes back, all of that. If they cancel after, he keeps the earnest money. Because that would be the other thing, is if they get the appraisal and it's low and we're past the deadline, I don't know.
But if they have hard earnest money, they don't get their earnest money back regardless. He
Yeah, the
keeps it.
hard portion that's hard, he would keep, yeah.
So it's like a little bit more technical than I'm like used to. So this is helpful to have your feedback. And then for the other counter offer, he's countering 1% buyer agent commission, not 3%.
Hmm.
And also some other the next one. Yeah, the next one, it's if the appraisal value is assessed below 1.01 million, the seller has the option to decide not to sell and cancel the REPC. And he keeps going with.
But I don't think he understands is he already has that option.
Okay.
Without saying that in a addendum. He already
Okay.
has the option to not lower the price.
Okay, maybe that's what he's worried about. I couldn't quite understand why. I kept asking him. Okay.
The
Yeah,
other thing that I am questioning, so Cameron, I've never had somebody counter two offers. If he counters both and they both accept, then what?
who's ever first wins. Which is this, it's very interesting. I was going to mention this to you, Amy, is I have never done like a double counter like this, but it's an interesting tactic, because imagine this, like you're going to send both of these agents an email and probably a text or a call or something and say, hey, I sent this over. By the way, we have another offer, and we sent them a similar counter offer. First person to sign and let us know is under contract. Like you're you're really putting pressure on people to like move with some urgency. So it's a very interesting tactic that I haven't done. So it's almost like you were playing the multiple offers without doing like a you send me. It's like I'm sending you what I want, and just the first person to sign it gets it.
It
And
is
there's nothing
interesting
wrong with it.
because Cameron and I both have done a lot of real estate, and I've never done that either. So I'm interested to see how it plays out.
I was not planning on this. I was thinking, but he came this morning on our call and had this idea, and that was not in my playbook.
Yeah, I would be very upfront with both agents, just because then it can create that urgency factor of like, hey, if you sign this and let me know, we're under contract. If you drag your feet, we're not.
Yeah.
Because
He wants
potentially
it to
the
have
other
a
person.
he wants to have a deadline of 5 p.m. today.
It's fine.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah.
But yeah, so I need to call and let them know. I mean, they both know that there's multiple offers.
Yeah.
Okay.
And you could say, hey, the seller wants to do something interesting. He's giving both of you a shot to accept these terms. Who's ever accepting it first is under contract. And so accepting is they sign and they notify you, is how it is written. And so you're going to have to, they for sure will have to sign it, and then they will have to at least a text or email notify you that they have signed it. Most times it's even attached in an email. And so as soon as you hear from another agent that it's signed, and you can verify that it has been signed with like that timestamp, then you're under contract with that person, and you should notify the other agent immediately at that point. So it's kind of interesting. I did hear about this. This reminds me of like a seller offer is what I heard a couple years ago pre-COVID, someone was doing this where at an open house, they would have the seller fill in the contract of everything they wanted and sign. So if a buyer wanted it, all they had to do was sign and they are under contract. And it's almost like that same kind of concept is sign here and we're under contract, but we're also sending the same thing to another person. So it's very interesting.
Mm-hmm. Just so you know, over the weekend, I had to call the buyer agent and tell her, my client would like to move forward with you if you can go, if without even waiting for the next offer, but he won't pay any buyer agent commission. That was not the funnest conversation to have, but I did it, and she was just like, you know, we had the conversation. She said she'd let her clients know, and then she came back later saying, "No, we're not doing that. We're going to keep our offer as is." So now my client says, "Okay, I'll pay 1.5% buyer agent commission." That's his counter offer. So we'll see what happens.
Well, and this is why I don't think you need to write this if it appraises low kind of a thing, because you would kind of do that same thing, like, no, this is what we're willing to do. And then like if they're asking like, hey, we had a low appraisal lower, and you say no, are they going to come back and say, all right, we'll bring up some, like that part of the negotiating, because
Yeah,
he's already has it set in his mind that no, and it might appraise and we're just pre-negotiating something that might never come up.
right.
And so if you
I
could
just need to
tell him like, hey,
understand
our
it.
game plan, yeah, like we don't need to respond that. We can have that in our mind and we can let everyone know, like, appraisal comes in below this, like we're not going to talk about it. And we're moving forward at whatever.
But
But
is that all you're countering to the one offer? Because if you are, then essentially you're accepting that offer to the 1.009 or whatever, the 1,000,009.
Yeah,
If that's all you're
we
countering to them, then you can't count. Like, does that make sense? Then you don't need to counter, and then you're essentially accepting their offer
so we're countering it with 1.5% buyer agent commission instead of the 3.
on both
That's
of them.
and then on the other one, it's a 1.02 offer, and he's countering it with 1%. He'll pay 1% buyer agent commission instead of 3.
Okay.
And then all this legal stuff about section 16 of the Rep C. So Jeanette, does it work? Can I send over what he wants to counter offer, and can we maybe discuss that to make sure we have it right?
Yes, I'm happy to look at it.
Okay. Thank you. And then we'll make 2 counter offers, send them over to the Kwongs to sign, and then we'll send them over to the agents. And we should probably send them about the same time.
Sounds good.
so interesting. I kind of like it, to be honest. You
He's
ask
been
for
pulled through
everything
the
that you
ringer on
want.
this one. He's interesting for sure. He's hard.
Thank you. I feel like this has been a hard job, and I appreciate you like acknowledging that this is a harder client.
Most clients almost trust in you as the agent. They might question things, but they kind of let you do your job. Where I feel like he's right in the middle trying to tell you a lot of the things. And so it's definitely an interesting client.
Yeah. Thanks for your help. This will be great. I just need to explain to him this Rep C with his ideas, and I need to, because he wants that in there. He's like, I've read over the Rep C so many times. I think we need to have this in there. I'm like,
the hard thing is that it's your job to know what the rep C says, not his. And so I don't know how you can nicely let him know that it's your job to protect him and you know that the rep C already states what he's asking for.
Right. That's where I would love your guys' support, because although I've read the Rep C, this is my first transaction, so it is a little bit intimidating.
Yeah. Well, and like I was saying, it sounds like we're trying to pre-negotiate a lot of things that will be figured out if things go poorly, right? If the appraisal comes in low and the sellers ask it to come down, we can say no, and then they will cancel, like Jeanette was saying. So we don't really have to change that. Um, Also, this seems like we'd go back and forth a whole bunch on something that ultimately doesn't matter if the house appraises. So it's almost like we're planning for contingencies, not knowing if they're going to happen or not, where uh we can just kind of leave that to when that happens, if that happens.
I also think too that the chances of it appraising low are probably slim
Yeah,
because you've had so many offers and like multiple offer situations every time it's been back on the market. So the chances that it's going to appraise low, in my opinion, are small.
I agree. And he agrees, but of course he wants to protect himself.
Yeah, and he is. Now the Rep C is written very buyer friendly, and what I mean by that is the seller can't just cancel for whatever reason. Now, what the seller can do is not deviate from what was already negotiated, meaning purchase price, terms, all of those things. And so he can just say no straight up to any request. Hey, will you fix this? No. Will you lower the price for this reason? No. Will you add more concessions for this? No. And so you don't need to have plans for everything. It's you can just the plan is you're going to say no to anything that they ask. And then if they are not happy with that, then they're going to cancel, and or they'll just be like, fine, we asked, we got to know, let's keep moving forward. It sounds like both these offers probably have a little bit of money with the size of down payments and earnest money and things like that. So they might even be able to bridge the gap if there is
My
one. But I'd like to know, saying there's multiple offers, and you can tell the appraisal, oh, I'm so happy to see what this finally appraises for. Every time we've been on the market, we get multiple offers, and they
Mhm.
will take that into mind. And
my
Okay.
other thought is that if he's adamant, we could use the appraisal floor addendum, Cameron, and
mhm.
just say like, and then that way, I mean, if he's adamant, that's probably the easiest way to do it other than trying to be an attorney. Just use that appraisal floor addendum.
That's what I thought the original question was going to be about, was an appraisal floor.
I don't know about that addendum.
We can chat. There's an
Yeah,
addendum that just says that that the buyer will pay up to whatever the appraisal floor is. So like, yeah, basically they'll pay the difference if it comes in low.
okay.
All right.
Oh,
Okay.
thank
This
you.
week for phone calls, we are on T and J. So the Thompsons and Jensens and Johansons and all of those. I can't think of names fast enough, but I am related to Thompsons, my sister-in-law. So I got a bunch of calls this week for my T's and J's. So make those phone calls. Come to Ignite with me today. And then um team meeting tomorrow. Remind me what it is, Ritz. It's going to be a good one. They're always good. Come in tomorrow, 11 o'clock. Um, and then go crush it today. We'll see y'all later.
Thanks.